Hello and welcome to Eye on the Money, the television show that gives you insights into how to improve your financial well-being as well as make your money work for you. I'm Ingrid Nantege. Now, before we even get into the beef of the show, I have very exciting news for you. We're currently collaborating with personal finance gurus at Centonomy, yes guys, at Centonomy, to bring you a series of personal finance advice on various topics. So be sure to look out for this over the next couple of weeks. It could also even possibly be months. And the even greater news is that this collaboration starts today on this show. And today on the show, we're going to discuss the distinction between entrepreneurship and self-employment. Now, often, self-employment and entrepreneurship are confused to be the same. An entrepreneur and a self-employed person may share the similarity of owning a business, but their mindset and approach are completely different. How, you may ask? Well, that's why we're here today. Joining me on the show is none other than Shiba Njagi, Head of Learning and Innovation at Centonomy. You're welcome to the show, Shiba.
Thank you so much, Ingrid.
I don't know if you can tell how excited I am to have this collaboration.
I am as happy as you are. Eye on the money. That's what we are talking about, and I'm excited that we get to do this properly and in depth.
Right, and I'm also really excited for our audience because of the kind of value that we're going to get from this.
Yeah.
So Shiba, today we're going to talk about entrepreneurship versus self-employment. And believe it or not, even with all my excitement here, even I was like, wait, there's a difference. So before you even tell us what the difference is, usually we like to sample the, perceptions, knowledge of the common Kenyan on the streets to see how much they know. So let's take a quick look.
Entrepreneurship, it's the process of identifying a gap ama a market in the a gap in the market na una-employ the relevant resources ku solve your problem ama ku fill your gap yenye iko kwa hiyo market. Lakini self-employment kulingana na mimi na feel it's a subsidiary of entrepreneurship whereby it's also una-identify hiyo gap na unafanya umeji-employ. But entrepreneurship iko broad. So you can employ other resources kama labor from other people, capital, vitu tofauti. So entrepreneurship ni broad, self-employment ni wewe binafsi hapo unapiga your business.
Entrepreneurship an entrepreneur is someone who self-employ himself and start the entrepreneurship. So you cannot each of them differentiate. You can actually differentiate and categorize in different ways. But in business language, a self-employed person and entrepreneurship, they are one thing and the same.
People just do a work to make a living. They might run their own business to the way they understand, to a scale that they understand, that you call it as a self-employment or working for yourself. Now, making it more advanced by planning, strategizing to enterprise the business becomes now entrepreneurship.
Self-employment is the act of you employing yourself without being liable to any other person. Whereby an entrepreneur or entrepreneur is a person who comes up with new ideas, basically either for the company or as an individual individual business.
Entrepreneurship is any type of business, as in it can be self-employment, it can be corporate, all of that. But a self-entrepreneur is someone who has employed him or herself with his or her own capital from the means that he or she got them.
Entrepreneurship, first of all, must be a risk taker. A risk taker, that means you are liable to either profits or losses. Number two, a timekeeper. Number three, should be an eloquent or rather a brilliant-minded person, so that you can be able to come up with new ideas.
Before you employ yourself, there must be something that jumps up in your mind, that comes up in your mind, that you love, that you want to do it passionately so that you might be successful. Secondly, he or she must be a risk taker, because in the world of business, there is nothing that comes on a silver platter. You might go in an industry that it is overcrowded or an industry that has got no customers. So you have to take risk so that you can maximize your profits.
You need to be able to see the opportunity your business has. If you are running a business on your own, you might start with a small dukkha, with a very simple operation. then now by the traction of business you will see how much good you can do by trying to put a lot of other aspects into perspective and different dynamics of the business. So for you to be able to see that, you should be able to see the opportunity, and also you'll have to have a very simple vision and a thinking on how to convert a self-run business into a real entrepreneurship. Yes.
Entrepreneur anafaa kuwe a good decision maker, and also communication skills zake zinafaa zikuwe on point, na pia anafaa kuwe intelligent in terms of market analysis and everything to do with even his financial, putting his financial house in order. Such are the qualities of a good entrepreneur.
According to me, I think self-employment is harder because, first of all, in self-employment mostly you are your own consultant, you are your own source of income, because you will find capital on your own self. So I think self-employment is more difficult than entrepreneurship.
I think they are hand in hand, because you can be either self-employed and at the same time you are an entrepreneur. For you to be self-employed, you have to be an entrepreneur. Number two, you can work in any other company and still you are an entrepreneur. So these things work hand in hand. It's not hard. Nothing harder than the other, but all of them are equal.
I would distinguish between being hard and not, but if you want to be success in the long term, you'll convert your business into a proper entrepreneurship where, because a lot of dynamics you'll tackle with that will give you a better mileage and a leverage for your business to be successful. So it might involve a bit of additional work for you to become an entrepreneur and then put those different aspects, but it will definitely help you in the long run, definitely also in the short run.
Entrepreneurship is more involving because it is complex kidogo. Bring a lot of things into play. Unlike self-employment, it is just you yourself, you are the labor, you are the capital, you are the one giving your time, giving your intelligence in terms of intellectual property, but entrepreneurship bring a lot of forces from outside.
I proceeded. Thank you. So Shiba, you've heard what the Kenyans think.
Yeah.
Just to get into our conversation today, again, like I said, personally, I was also on the edge of really, there's actually a difference. So if we're talking about an entrepreneur and we're talking about a self-employed person, what's the difference?
I like how you say they have a common similarity in the fact that, you know, both of them end up running a business. But where the difference really comes in is in the attitude, it's in the mindset. You know, for someone who's self-employed, many of people who identify as self-employed people, they're just looking for an opportunity. You know, is there a business I can just get into? You're mainly thinking about, you know, the money, you're mainly thinking about the profit, you're mainly thinking about what's the quickest way for me to be able to get some money. And the biggest difference from an entrepreneur is that by the time an entrepreneur starts a business, they have already sat down to look for something very critical. And that's what we call the opportunity. They need to look for the big opportunity. Many self-employed people will probably, that's why if we walk down the street right now, Ingrid, it's so easy for us to find the same businesses, you know, 3 of the same businesses on the same line, you know, and you're wondering, so how are you guys planning to compete? What's the difference you're planning to offer? One of the key differentiators when it comes to entrepreneurs and self-employed people is the opportunity that the person has been able to identify. Entrepreneurs are driven by gaps. They are driven by opportunity. They are able to see, I can see how this particular service or how this product is being currently utilized in the market. And I can see how when I play in this market, I'm going to be doing something different. So the very first difference is in being able to identify the gap or the opportunity available. Another key differentiator is that entrepreneurship really requires the person to be more of a leader than a doer. many self-employed people have to do the work. We usually say that they're the ones who are the technician in the business, they're the ones who are the marketer, they're the CEO, they're the every single thing. But entrepreneurs get into the business knowing, yes, I might be the person who is doing everything right now. I might be the person who is the CEO, the tea guy, the makeup artist. I can be the everything, but I'm planning to make sure that I create opportunities for other people as well. So one key difference is that entrepreneurs are leaders in their businesses. They plan and create structures and processes that will ensure that they're able to leverage on other people, Ingrid. So those are two key things, yeah? And another key differentiator is that an entrepreneur usually has to always keep their eyes open. They are also innovators, and I know we'll be talking about innovation later, but these are people who are able to open up their eyes in their business and are ready to, if I could use the word, disrupt themselves when need be. Yeah, many self-employed people have been caught off guard. You are just running your shop, you're running your service business on Jumia, the pandemic strikes, or just something happens and it completely leaves you almost, I don't think there's anything else I can do. But entrepreneurs, we always use this word in our program, entrepreneurship program, where we say, make sure you wear, new or different glasses for you to be able to see things differently. Entrepreneurs see things differently, so they're able to do things in their businesses differently. Yeah.
Oh my God, Shiva, you've done such a good job with just helping us find that differentiator.
Yeah.
So even as you explained to us that entrepreneurs come up with that big idea, they'll fill in, that gap that's there to just put a product that's ideally not in the market.
Yeah.
Someone would ask, is one better than the other? And also, if I'm trying to decide on whether going into entrepreneurship or self-employment, what should someone think about? What are the qualities of an entrepreneur? What are qualities of a self-employed person? And can you do both even?
Yeah. Well, the reality is, let me talk about an entrepreneur who runs their own business, because it's also a different conversation that I'll be getting into, that we actually have entrepreneurs that are working in other people's businesses. That's a different conversation. The truth is, an entrepreneur is already employed in their own business. So with a basic definition or with a basic description of, am I employed? Yes, I am employed in my own business, and that's something very important. But coming to speak about what are the key characteristics, or what are the key, what can I say, attitudes that make these two people different, and is it better? One key thing that makes an entrepreneur is this person is flexible. Flexibility is like their second name. Yeah, these are people who are able to say, I know I got into this business as a videographer or as a photographer, and I was thinking I'm going to have a studio, and then I'm going to set up my business somewhere in town at the CBD or up country, and then people are going to come and, take photos, and I'll be shooting their weddings. And then pandemic strikes. Right. There are no more weddings, really, people are saying, is it possible for you to do something else? Can I be able, we all have our own, what are they called? Our own smartphones with our own cameras, front and back. And this videographer and photographer has to think, okay, my market is being disrupted. What else can I do? This is someone who can end up thinking, okay, I have these skills. I know I wanted to set up a studio, but because I have these skills, how about I get onto YouTube, or I create a simple online session and teach people how to actually take good photos or do proper, videography. And that becomes a new product or service that this person can have. That is an entrepreneur. That is someone who has had to look at things and say, there's a way I expected to start, and then there is now different, when we say things are different on the ground, and then I'm thinking, how else can I be able to still serve my purpose? So as you can see, this is someone who had to be very flexible, and also someone who had to open their eyes and even their ears. Another key attitude is, this is a risk taker. This is someone who is able to say, I want to be able to expand into a new market. I've been serving in Kenya. I've been serving in a couple of cities in Kenya with this business, maybe supplying rice. Am I able to go and do the very same thing in Uganda? I don't even know how the market is like there, but is that a challenge that I am open to? That is a very big differentiator or attitude that very many entrepreneurs have. When you meet someone who just started a business just so that they can be able to meet their expenses, now that's a direct explanation of who a self-employed person is. They might think, Uganda, no need, why? See, I'm fine. I have all the money that I need right now. So it's just good to be able to realize that there are key attitudes that differentiate people. There's another thing we usually say in our program, Ingrid. An entrepreneur is someone who is ready to be uncomfortable with the discomfort that comes with business. Someone who has accepted that things are not going to be easy. Someone who has accepted that, I may start the business right now, but it's possible it's going to start making money in the next 2-3 years. And they are willing to see it through. That's a key attitude that can only be found with someone who is ready to provide solutions. Yeah.
And Shiba, I love your honesty when it comes to just really being real about what an entrepreneur is. When it comes to the flexibility, when it comes to being a risk taker, knowing that you have to fully immerse yourself, being able to spot an opportunity. However, we see a situation, obviously, and it could also be contributed to the current environment where jobs are barely available. If you keep a job, with the current COVID, we've seen so many people losing jobs. So there's a really big push trying to advise people to get into entrepreneurship. Yeah. But with the qualities that you've mentioned, maybe not everyone can actually do it. My question is it something you can learn? Or is it, because we've seen people who they said, okay, there are these initiatives that are going to help out the youth, take advantage, go into agriculture. You go into agriculture, you do it, but it doesn't work out for you. Are there some people who are built to be, is an entrepreneur born, or is it something that you can learn along the way?
It's like you read my mind. Are entrepreneurs born? Okay, I must say, for a fact, there are some that are born. There are some that were born with some of this go-getter attitude. There's some that were born with this ambitious attitude, risk-taker. But do you know what? That's actually a smaller percentage of entrepreneurs. You'd find it's probably, I was reading in some report and they were saying those that are actually born are about 30 to 40%. Yeah. So who are the rest? The rest are actually people like me, people like you, who can actually learn all these attitudes I've shared with you, all these skill sets I've shared with you. This is something that we can go and learn. But we have to be ready to be able to take these on. Can I be flexible? That's something you can come over at Centonomy and we will teach you. What are some of the ways you can start implementing in your own life, in your business, that can enable you to be more flexible as a business owner? Can you be someone who understands risk? Yes. Even if you're not such a risk taker, yes, you can learn what risk and return actually mean in your business. So yes, you can learn how to be an entrepreneur. And I like how you've talked about the effects of the pandemic to our lives, yeah? And now finding a situation where you've lost your job or you have a deduction in your income, and you know what? Something that never changes are your monthly lifestyle costs. True? Right. And you're thinking, how else can I bridge that gap? And you sit down and you realize you have amazing talents. You have amazing abilities, hobbies, interests, that if you actually put your mind to it, you can convert them into something that can make you money. But what we are trying to say, and that's why we are here to have this conversation, Ingrid, is it's time that now we change our mindsets from just starting a business and running it like any other person, and learn how we can be able to apply the key skills for us to be able to run successful businesses. Because it's no longer about running a business, it's about running a business that will outlive you.
Right.
Yeah, and so we can learn these things.
Now, Shiba, before we even take a break, and now that we're on fire, you've told us, you've been, again, very honest with, and it doesn't at all sound like something that's very simple.
Yeah.
Because depending on who you talk to, they'll just make it seem like if you have the initial startup capital, if you've already got a place where you're going to rent, if you already know what product you're going to put out there, you're good and ready to be an entrepreneur. Which, from what you're saying, it does not, there's a lot more that goes into it. So still staying with trying to make this decision on whether this is a path I want to take. And also I've spoken to quite a number of entrepreneurs, and actually they'll say it's one of the loneliest, hardest journeys. You literally have to devote your entire life and immerse yourself. Wish as a person who, if I have a job at Metropole and I have that salary coming in at the end of every month, you know, I even have that security. Why is entrepreneurship something that I should even consider? It sounds tough. It sounds like something that's going to suck me dry. What are the benefits?
Okay, that's a really good question. And you've talked about two different people, yeah? Earlier we were talking about someone who didn't have anything, like maybe who lost their job. Right. And then now you've also talked about someone who's currently, you know, at work and is thinking, can I be able to make more money? And is it worthwhile to be able to get into business? Look, what's the definition of an entrepreneur? For me, an entrepreneur is someone who is committed, who has been able, first of all, to identify a gap, to identify an opportunity, a problem in the market. And they've been able to see, this is how I can sort out this problem. This is how I can fill this gap and make people have a better experience. And I am committing myself, the time I have, the energy I have, the money I have to be able to fill this gap. Now, if you don't feel like it, please don't do it.
Right.
All right. So to the question of, is it a lonely journey? Yes, it is. We've heard it, we read it. I have been through it. I know it is. But are you determined to be able to fill this gap that you've been able to see? Are you determined and ready to commit to the process to be able to solve this problem? If you are, then I would say it's about time you start. Let me speak to someone who is employed, right? Like me, yeah? One of the key, you can be an entrepreneur in Metropole and also for your own business. At Metropole, all these attitudes I've shared with you, mindsets or skill sets, isn't it something that Metropole as a business would need?
Absolutely.
Someone who is flexible, someone who is a risk taker, someone who is disruptive, someone who is open-minded, who is seeking opportunities. And that's how you're able to even grow to different levels in this business, because you are an entrepreneur in this business, even if it's someone else's. That's what we usually call an intrapreneur. And that's when now you also sit down and say, as Ingrid, do I have extra time? Because sometimes you may not have time. But if I have some time in my week, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, that I am willing to dedicate to a problem I have seen in the market that I can solve, it's time for you to ask yourself, can I commit to the process? And if you can't, it's also okay to say no. Right. It's not, and another thing I wanted to tell you also, entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Yeah. Yeah.
That's something people need to hear.
Yeah, it's because I know how it's been preached, and I like being very real. I know how it's been preached, like, oh, youth, every youth now, you know, entrepreneurship is a big deal. Yes, it is a big deal, but it needs a level of commitment and dedication and also leadership. You need to be a leader in that business. It doesn't matter what business it is. You could be selling second-hand books, you could be distributing milk, you could be selling smokies or doing coaching like me, but the key elements of running a business need to be implemented in that business. And if you're not ready to do it, it's also okay to say, let me go and just be employed because I'm not able to. It's a discipline that I don't have, or I can't apply. So it's good to be real with yourself in that sense.
And I feel like that's where you even save yourself a lot of wasted time, money, efforts, and all the rest. I really beg that we put a slight pause on the conversation right now, because I have to take a very quick break. But if you're our audience at home, remember you can be a part of this conversation by sending your feedback and comments to our social media handles at Metropole TV KE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll be right back.